kind of thrive into coaching, mentoring. I was able to have people that wanted to work under my leadership, which made me realize that I had a way of doing things well and people were responding to it well. And over time, I found that I was as passionate about coaching and mentoring cooks and chefs that I was about cooking a great meal.
Everybody, welcome back to Living the Next Chapter, the author podcast, where we get to meet amazing authors from around the world. We're going to jump into the kitchen today. We're going to share some recipes on how we can help with our growth, our teams, our mental health, and helping us as creative people who serve in tourism, hospitality. You're going to meet an amazing chef who not only can plate a beautiful meal for you, but also can help you as far as your learnings and how you grow in your role. And excited to have Chef Franck here on the show. Excited to have him on the podcast. Welcome, Chef. Nice to have you on the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Very excited for this conversation, Dave.
Excellent. Tell everybody where you are in this big world of ours.
I am I'm a child of everywhere in the world, but was born in France and currently based out of Connecticut, United States.
Wow. How long were you in France before you came to America?
Oh my goodness. I've been in France my entire childhood, but I started traveling when I was 18 and I went everywhere in the world. I came back in France at some point and I left again. So I would not know how many years I've been in France, but I left when I was 19.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your journey into the kitchen, what was that for you? Did you have somebody in your life that was that loved to cook, that loved to create great meals? What was your spark or your interest to go down this path?
The initial inspiration was really both my parents. They were both amazing cook and both very different cook. I mean, you growing up in France, it's kind of a given that you have to know how to cook. And my mom was really more about the comfort food, the family meal, nothing to impress. Just like I say. The flavors of every day that were just very well executed for the family. And my dad was in a military career and decided to, he was just cooking, picking up recipes during holidays, but he was more into trying to impress. He was doing a lot of beautiful art on the plate and trying to play with the rich product that you could have access to. So both very different cook, but both kind of taught me different way that you can get people around a meal.
Wow. Where did you go to learn more about becoming a chef in your journey? What kind of education background do you have?
I've got the equivalent in US of a bachelor degree in culinary arts. So it was about 4 years, 2 years in culinary art. Then after I went to the next certification as just kind of a bachelor degree. I went on apprenticeship. So I took a route in France, the apprenticeship require for you to have, you go into an employer. So you work into a restaurant, you just go to school 1 week a month. So you're technically working every day. And so I started that. I was barely 15.
Now you're a girl dad. Congratulations.
Yes, I am.
What does it feel like for you to be the parent now, remembering what it was like to watch your family around mealtime? What are you bringing into your home life now as a girl dad?
Wow, that is such a great question. I've got 2 girls, 4.5 and about 19 months.
Yes.
So very young, but my 4.5 is, she's curious by nature and I love people that are curious by nature. She just wants to know, just this week, just making her a meal. She went taking a little, step stool and then coming and just wanted to stir in the pot. Something as simple as that, but very curious, asking a lot of questions. And, she's, they both, my kids are very foodie. It was important for me and my wife that they are both understanding flavors. We love to travel. We love to try new things. And I usually rarely makes a different meal for them. If my wife say, I want I want ramen noodles, I'm going to make ramen for the whole family. And I'm not necessarily kind of diverging for the kids to make something. Unless they don't like it, we always kind of trying to push them to try at least. And if they don't like it, sure, we can be flexible. But it is something that I've been really enjoying myself to do.
Yeah. Excellent. I like that connection with your family and the kids. Again, it was meaningful for you growing up to have that from your parents, and it's nice that you can now turn that around and be the dad now to do that and demonstrate
That's
that.
the idea, yeah.
Does your wife love to cook as well?
My wife, she enjoyed cooking. Granted, when we've met, she was not at all anything close to knowledge when it comes to cook. But she's learned a lot. Becoming a mother probably has made her a little bit better at cooking. And yeah, but I'm usually going to be the one cooking when we have to make a meal. It became very very organic in that way.
Nice. That's nice. So you've been in the kitchen at home and at work for a long, long time. And in that environment, not only are you plating amazing meals for people, there's a whole world behind the scenes that we don't get to see as we sit in the restaurant enjoying great meals.
Very
There's
true.
another whole world behind the wall, right? Can you
Yes,
kind of
there.
take us behind the scenes a little bit? It's noisy back there, it's activity, it's busy, but you're kind of like the captain, I guess, of that behind the scenes environment. Is that true as
Yeah,
chef?
yeah, I think it's a good way to put it. I think the behind the scene of cooking, what you have to accept early on into that industry, especially in the kitchen, is you're gonna be working when everyone else is having fun. You're going to be working on the holidays. You're going to be working on weekends. You're going to be working on the Saturday nights. Like in your 20s, when you are expected, any normal child would expect to just kind of go through life and having what we would call the general path in order to get into to your life. You go to nightclub, you go to restaurant, you hang out, you chill, you just go to party. When you choose this industry, you're going to have to give up a lot of that because now you chose to actually be of service for the people that are having fun. So it is a transition to go through, especially at a young age when you have to accept that this is the path chosen. So yeah, I mean it's a lot of hours. There's possible burnouts. There's exhaustion. There is pressure. After, it really depends the world you want to go to. If you want to go in the world of fast food, you want to go into the world of just traditional restaurants, or you want to go into luxury, into Michelin-star rated restaurant. They all have something to offer with their own set of adversities that comes your way. But as long as you find fulfillment into the avenue you've chosen, then you should be able to thrive.
Do you think those reality TV cooking shows are a realistic take on what's happening behind the scenes in the kitchen, or are they kind of glamorized a little bit for us as viewers? And my wife
I
watches them all the time, just so you
Of course, and you're referring to Food Network, not
Yeah,
necessarily like
yeah,
yeah. So the I I think they're trying their best to picture what can be and what has been. I rarely attracted to watching these shows because I know too well what's happening behind the scene. And sure, there's a little bit of a drama and in order of a way to captive the audience and captivate the audience. And so yeah, it's a little bit glamorized, I would say. But after they're entertaining, and sometimes you just have to look at as is.
yeah. Is there another chef that you would love to spend the day with, just to soak up what they do? You admire them as a fellow chef. Is there somebody that you really look up to?
Wow, there's quite a few. There's quite a few that I would want to. If I were to stay within United States, I would love to spend a day with Gordon Ramsay, spend a day with Daniel Boulud, Dominique Cran. Those are chefs that are they're just doing amazing things these days. They became a brand on their own.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, I kind of coming out of the kitchen a little bit. I'm not saying they're never in the kitchen, but I'm sure with the life that they have now, they're not necessarily as often in the kitchen as people would think. And I think just spending the day and soak up the mindset and just kind of what make them thrive, what make them move throughout the day and the year, and the decision they're making and the opportunities that comes their way.
How do you balance quality with the multitasking aspect of running a kitchen?
Oh my goodness. I would say a lot of it comes from practice, which is why chefs are spending a lot of time in their kitchen. Practice and to the point when you create muscle memory. So a lot of it becomes doing it over and over and over and over and never really getting satisfied with the result because something did not go quite right. So it's really to a point when you just go at it, and you get to a point when you're capable of, with muscle memory, to be able to cook some scrambled eggs while there's a sauce reducing, and then at the same time you have something in the oven on a timer, and then you pay attention to the cook next door that is cooking and prepping for the dinner. So you just end up really getting immersed into that world when you don't really have any other distraction. You're just so focused all the time, which makes at the end of the day a very tiring and exhausting day when you've been kind of paying attention to absolutely everything and make sure that not anything goes on the sideways. So it is very something that you have to with time, only with patience, you will be able to get some close to master.
What are some of the important rules that you have for your kitchen, for your team?
Important rules. It's okay to make a mistake, but own up to it. And then move on. We live in a world in the kitchen when mistake will happen. It is, like I say, it's a very demanding industry, and you will make mistake, and mistake are part of the growth. There's something you have to learn from. They're the lesson of the day, and then and you just kind of move on. I'm also someone that that loves seeing in people a right attitude, someone that wants to be part of the team, someone that wants to help moving the needle with the team, someone that comes with a bad attitude, someone that does not respect the rest of the team by coming late, and with not really any excuse. There are usually some stuff that's going to make it you're going to have to fall into the accountability, because I think it is disrespectful when you come late and everybody else did come on time. So there's a lot of those, some people would say antiquated rules, but they're rules that works. They're rules that when you work in an environment like this, you have to have a set of rules that makes it want to be part of it. Everyone loves some good structures. And so when you have structure in your environment, then it becomes easier to thrive because the expectations are the same for everybody.
I'm a musician, and when we work in writing music, performing music, we want to have people that we want to be around. There might be the most amazing musician who's super talented, but they're terrible with personality. Like they don't get along in a group. You don't want to be in a vehicle with them for a long trip because it's not going to end well. But I'd much rather have somebody in my music world who is willing to learn, who's a good human being. You want to be around them. You want friendship with them. You want
Coachable.
companionship, even if their skills aren't like the top. There's still
Absolutely.
room for them to develop, right?
Yeah, I could not agree more. Someone that is coachable, someone that has the right attitude. It changes. It makes the environment takes a little bit more time to reach where you want it to be, because you have to kind of show patience for the people that have yet to have the skills. But ultimately, you are creating a world where everyone can thrive, everyone has an opinion, everyone can speak up, everyone feels part of the mechanism that is to move forward. So yeah, I'm a huge advocate of promoting from within the right people, as long as you continue the mentorship and the coaching of these people. Promoting for the sake of promoting, you just check a box, but you're not necessarily doing the work that you expected to do as a leader. So I strongly believe and totally agree with what you say. It is much better to be surrounded with like-minded people that wants to thrive in the right direction than having someone overly talented that doesn't want to be part of the team.
How do you demonstrate the proper way from your perspective on how to deal with stress in a busy environment like a kitchen?
By accepting it. I think accepting that the job can be stressful. After it's finding out the right balance, and is having to sit down. I've had cooks that were coming into my office years ago, just like, a chef, this is way too stressful. Like, I don't know if I can do it. And they say, okay, well, what is stressful about it? What is it? Is it the service that is stressful? Is it the prep that is stressful? Is it being short-staffed that is stressful? Is it the front of the house staff and the demand? Is it the guest expectation? What is it that actually triggered the stress? stress. And then based on that, from the answer you're giving, you're trying to say, okay, well, what if I'm, you know what, you're stressed about service? What if I put you on prep? You don't necessarily have to deal with service. You're just helping me getting prep done and production. So we find another avenue, and you know he has the right attitude. You know he gets along very well with the team, and he has value to bring into the overall team. So let's just trying to listen to what they have to say and then move them into a spot that make them feel a little bit more valued or a little bit more helpful. And then you check on them every so often, just say, hey, how is it going? Like, how's the stress level? Are you ready to go back behind the line? I think you've done the work and you've done all this. So maybe, and then you just kind of patiently waiting for them to be into the right spot in their mind to say, you know what, chef, I'm ready to go behind the line again. I say, okay, a year passed by. I'm sure you're ready. Let's give it a try. And then you go and give it a try and you accompany them into getting into that point. So you really have to listen. We all have stress trigger. I have stress triggered.
Yeah.
And as long as someone's going to pay attention to what they are and modifying it to your liking, that's what's going to create a level of loyalty that it's hard to find these days.
So before we talk about your new book, the question, when I am I'm at your restaurant, I'm enjoying my meal, I call my server over, they ask everything is okay, and I say, please give my compliments to the chef. Do those compliments actually make their way back to you?
I would say 95% of the time they are.
Okay, good.
95% of the time they will say, hey, table 83, the gentleman has just said that his meal was amazing.
Okay.
It's always so good. But I would say 95% of the time, unless the server is in the middle of 6 orders and is completely in the weeds, he will probably mention it at the end of service. But I would say 95% of the time he comes back to the kitchen, yes.
Okay, so everyone listening, the next time you're sitting at the table and they ask you how everything is, there's your opportunity. Send that praise back to the kitchen.
Yes, of course.
I love it. Let's talk about your new book. I'm excited about this, coming out soon. Relentless Growth. It sounds like an amazing book. You're cultivating a chef's mindset, which is, I've never heard those two words put together, which I want to talk about a little bit more. And this professional fulfillment side for your book. Again, tell everybody, Chef, when does your book come out? When is it available?
The book is coming out on October 14 of 2025. So we're about 30 days away, which is very, very close.
It's exciting. The original idea for writing a book, like this is a totally different thing than what you would do in the kitchen. Where did the idea come up for you to say, you know what, I want to put my words into a book?
Yeah, I think it's a very long answer, but I'm going to try to make it as efficient as possible. I've thrived into the kitchen in the world of Michelin-starred rated restaurant and luxury hotels and resort across the world, and I've always been able, as a leader, to really kind of thrive into coaching, mentoring. I was able to have people that wanted to work under my leadership, which made me realize that I had a way of doing things well, and people were responding to it well. And over time, I found that I was as passionate about coaching and mentoring cooks and chefs that I was about cooking a great meal. The passion, it was just like making me feel super energized and super pumped up. And so during the pandemic in 2019-20, as we were gearing up to that, I've certified myself to be a coach, speaker, and trainer from the John Maxwell certification program.
Nice.
And based on that, when I finished my study and I got certified, I opened my company called Incrementum. And as I kind of moved on and continued this path of while I was slightly becoming an entrepreneur, I was also in the world of the industry of hospitality. I realized that my philosophy, I needed to find a way to put it on a bigger platform. I just, like I said, people are responding well to it, and I just say maybe there is something to do here. I've always had a ton of fuzzy ideas in my head about one day writing a book, but never felt the level of readiness that I needed to have. And you kind of question yourself. It's like, oh, I have an idea, and it's like, okay, well, is this idea can do 250 pages, or is this just an idea? Or you have like 50 ideas, but how those 50 ideas can translate into a book that people is going to want to read. And you kind of go and start this process with all those questions in mind, knowing that you're hopeful to have some answers. Now, what's been helping me in this process of this was I've never written a book before. and English is not my first language.
Right.
And so as I went through a process, I was vulnerable and enough to just say, you know what, I'm going to hire someone that's going to help me writing this book. And so I hired a book coach, and I've pitched my idea of doing this, and so we started the process, and that process was very, very long. I did not understand at the beginning the process. We were trying to write a blueprint of the entire book. So for 6 months, when I started getting a coach to the point that I started to write the first word of my book, I was just like, man, when am I going to start writing my book? I had told everybody I'm starting writing a book, starting writing a book. Everyone is saying, so how is your book coming along? I say, I haven't started yet. And so I was just going into the blueprint, and the blueprint's broken down in so many aspects of what you're doing. But that was definitely kind of what made me feel so in love with the process onward. I only appreciated writing this blueprint when I started writing my book. That blueprint was not every part of it was exciting to do. When you go into data search, into trying to find your audience and why you have an audience and how you're going to pitch, marketing plan, competitive titles, you really go into all those steps. And then you finding yourself only appreciating the process of blueprint when you start running the word. Because when you have a blockage, which you will have a blockage,
Right. Yeah.
when you have a blockage, you kind of go back into your table, your annotated table of content, and suddenly say, oh yeah, I remember. This is where I'm going. And then boom, 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 boom. My book flow was amazing. It was just flowing. Sometime I was staying until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning writing because the flow was there. And I was so afraid of going to sleep and losing it that I was just writing until I couldn't. So I had nothing else to say. So it was definitely a process that I came to appreciate much after.
I know that in all things foodie, presentation is really important as you present on the plate. How are you presenting this book? What is your hope as you present this book to the world?
My hope is really to have the book into the right hands. I think I'm doing every step correctly in order to do it right. I've writing this book, doing the blueprint, and then after the intention that went into the cover, the interior design, the acknowledgement, finding the right person to do the forward, trying to find the brand awareness also in order to get the book the exposure that it deserves. And also there's the world of publishing that I tried. The traditional publishing, hybrid publishing was a world that was very eye-opening to me. I was not necessarily pleased and satisfied about what I found, but that's my experience. I just did not necessarily understand the process of publishing when you've got to put so much money up front for you on book that you spend time writing in order for someone to take a liking to publish it, and you don't even own the book at the end. And I'm just like, that's just completely inside out, and I just don't understand. And so all of this, I have been lucky enough over the past few years with my entrepreneurial journey to build a network. And my wife was actually the one that pushed me into say, Franck, you do have a very solid network. Tap on that network. I was probably a little bit more underestimating the network that I had. But ever since I've been in this process of promoting that book now, I'm seeing the response. I'm seeing people that are excited about it. So as usual, your wife is usually correct about things. And
I'd
so
agree with
at this
that. I'd
point,
agree.
I followed the lead on this. I went on it, and so it's been an eye-opening, but very, very excited to get it out very soon.
Nice. Who do you think is your ideal reader? Who did you have in mind when you wrote the book?
I've broken down in mind, as I was doing my blueprint, my first audience is really student of hospitality. And when we say student of hospitality, I am still a student of hospitality. This is a world you never stop learning.
Right.
But I would say in mine was really the next generation of leaders. It's the people that are currently in the Culinary Institute of America. It's people that are currently in apprenticeship, people that are entering the world of hospitality because they found passion or they're just curious about it. So that would be the one that I have in mind, how to develop the right mindset in order to thrive in this very demanding industry. industry. And then you kind of go also, if you are just an hourly employee that's being given a chance and an opportunity to become a manager tomorrow, what is it that you need to learn, or what is it that you need to be ready for as you entering this world of leadership? And then I would say, if you're also someone that's been in the industry for some time, as a director role, been an exec chef, been a general manager of restaurant or director level that has been in industry for some time, but just go through the motion, just clock in, clock out, come to work, and not necessarily find any joy and fulfillment. Hopefully, this book will be able to translate that you have a lot of value to give as someone that has been in industry for so long. You just need to find the avenue that you find, I would say, fulfilling enough and attractive enough for you to want to be part of it.
Would you have done anything different as a chef early days for you? Had somebody handed you this book when you first started?
I like to think I did. I really wrote this book in a way that I would want to read it. Like I would have wanted to read it back then. So I'm very hopeful that the lessons that I've learned in my 25 plus year career in the industry can help someone to just being able to translate what you're about to enter and what journey you're about to take on. So I'm very hopeful that the messaging, the relatability of the stories, and how I illustrate my points are going to be approachable enough for you to take it in, think about yourself. There's a lot of questioning in the book, or question you need to ask yourself in order to move to the next step. So yeah, I think it would have changed in some ways my path, because a lot of chef book these days, I read a lot of self-help book and chef biographies, and a lot of chef books are 9 times out of 10, they're going to be a memoir. They're going to be their story, but they're not necessarily practical ideas or practical guidance for you to extract from it in order to apply to your own life. You just wish you were like these people, but you don't necessarily have the blueprint in order to know what step you need to take. So I try to take that approach, is really to give them a blueprint in order to thrive in this industry.
You see a difference between continuous improvement and relentless growth at all?
I think they're both part of the, I would say, side of the same coin. They're just really going with it. I think falling in love with process is what's going to bring you to relentless growth. Is really just appreciating the fact that you are progressing, and finding satisfaction in progress, and that sometimes when you're trying to rush things or you're taking a shortcut, there's a lesson in that. There is something to appreciate in that. When you make a big major mistake, or you have a huge setback, that is also part of the process, and you have to learn to appreciate and learn from that process so you can continue to move forward.
How do you balance being a leader who is seen as the person with the answer compared to being a person you've already mentioned that you like to continue learning? Like, I would see you as the chef in the kitchen going, that's the ultimate. I want to get to where you are, Chef Franck. But you're still admitting that you're still learning in the process. So how do you balance the humility of learning, but also the leadership of being the go-to person in the kitchen?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I've only learned that later in life, and I wish I had learned that before. As a chef, if a chef tells you that doesn't have pride and ego, is probably lying. Every chef, regardless of the level of ego and pride that might be low, usually it's a very proud position. And when you work into the world of the kitchen, you're really being looked up to. You're going to be respected by your peers if you know better, or if you've done that before, or if you know the recipe that nobody else knows. You kind of always being in this movement when people is going to put you on a pedestal because you know more. And so it's up to you to have that knowledge. So to answer your question is, I've only learned that later in my career, but I realized that my humility and my vulnerability actually was an obstacle to my growth, because I I have been conditioned that I knew better. Therefore, I was not necessarily seeking out the knowledge. And so it's like when you come into a kitchen, you don't know what you're going to find. But if you have a certain level of skills, if you know how to do well in pastries, in garde-manger, in a grill station, saute station, then you kind of already thinking that you know how to do things. Therefore, you're not necessarily going to seek out the opportunity. You're not going to seek out the challenge. You're not going to seek out to push the boundaries. You're just going to be working through it and appreciating that you're the best in the kitchen. But if you come with vulnerability and with humility into the fact that you're still a student of hospitality, you will realize that the response you have from your team, they will be a lot more willing to provide you what you're looking for. And at the end of the day, I've been learning a lot from traveling in other countries. I've learned a lot from my chefs that were working for me because they have their own experience of what they learned before they got to my kitchen. And so you just kind of and say, "Oh man, I didn't know you know how to do that." And you say, "I'd like to learn how to do this." And you say, "What do you mean, chef?" And you say, "Well, I didn't know how to do it." And you say, "Can we spend some time after service so you can show me how to do it?" And when you start to do this, now it's not the fact that everyone think they're the chef. It's suddenly the chef is not as high as everybody else. The
Right.
chef is like among everybody. And then you are definitely transforming an entire environment. And now you're building a healthy culture.
Mhm. And that's what we're gonna get through the book. We're gonna get a feeling of how to build that for our team, right?
That's the idea. I
Mm.
like to think that, I mean, I've been in so many kitchen, especially now since I've been entrepreneur, and I'm still finding to this day chefs that are just thinking that they're the chef of this hotel, therefore they just think,
Yeah.
and it's like, and I said, okay, well, I mean, but look at the reviews from your guests. Look at your team. You have shortage of staff all the time. Look at your culture is very unhealthy. So nothing right now that I'm seeing and observing tells me that story. So I'm interested into why you think this is the story. So I like to think that it starts with each and every one of us inside. And so my book is really written for you to do the work for yourself in order for you to be in that environment.
Okay. All right. What I love is the balancing of the confidence with the willingness to admit that you need to learn and make mistakes and learn from your mistakes. You talked about that at the beginning from an employee's perspective. You make a mistake, just let's move on. Let's figure out how we can grow from there. I like the balance of the confidence side though too, right? That you do have the education, you do have the background to speak with
Mhm.
authority, lead a team. That's to be recognized, but you're still willing to learn. I think that's a great healthy balance for any leader, whatever you're
It
doing.
is. It certainly is. It's funny because there's a misconception in a kitchen when you're a chef that does not necessarily have that confidence and I mean that vulnerability and humility, they're gonna feel from their team that they're respected. They're gonna feel like they're being listened to, but they're not necessarily leading from what we would call leading from the heart. They're leading by fear. There's also people will in the world of the kitchen, like the very world of military, they will respect the title. They will always respect the experience that you brought on the table, but that doesn't mean they're respecting the man or the woman behind the coat. And in order to do that, you've got to be able to get your human side out of this. You have to show vulnerability. You have to show approachability. Even though you're the chef and you command your kitchen in order to go through a hard service on a Saturday night, you have to be able to pull that hat on the side and at the end of service is going and giving a little tab on the back for every single cooks or giving a little shake hand and say, hey, thank you for pulling this off today. It was a tough one, but we made it happen. Just doing these little things daily, not just because you're being asked to do, but because you want to do it, will definitely show a human side of a chef that makes it more like you want to work for that chef.
When we bring a new member on our team, there's that initial period of time when we're trying to see their skill set, see how they fit in within a team environment. For you as a chef, what are some of the key things you're looking at when maybe you have a junior chef coming on to learn on your team? What are some of the key things that you're watching for to see if this is a good fit for your team?
Yeah, I think there's two ways to look at it. One is what I'm going to be looking for in the team based on, if I'm the exec chef and you have an exec sous chef, a chef de cuisine, sous chefs, like you have your leadership team, I'm going to look into attitude a lot. And I'm going to look into how they get along with the rest of the team. As a manager, the team that I have, they're my toolbox. It's like you coming as a cook. You need to make sure you have you knife to cook the meat, to cut the meat, one to do the fish, one to do the vegetable. Like you
Right.
have your toolbox. When you become an exec chef, you surround yourself with the best toolbox there is. And so they're going to be each person. So if I'm promoting Jack and say, okay, Jack, actually, this is the strengths that he has, this is the knowledge that he had, is going to fit perfectly well with the team. You think that way. Now, there's also the fact is, because like I say, we're living in a world of pride and ego in chefs. I grew up and trained in kitchen when my direct supervisor, my sous chef, and I was just a cook. I didn't feel like he knew more than me as knowledge. It was hard for me to respect the person or the cook because he was telling you, I need you to do this, I need you to do that, and you need to do this. And you just say, you don't even know how to do it yourself. It's like, it became hard. And maybe that's my path. And maybe that was my young me, arrogant as I could have been, that was looking at it. But I also know that usually you're going to respect the craftsman. You're going to respect the person that's going to be able to do things and teach you something. If you don't feel like you're learning from your direct supervisor, it's very hard to continue to do that. So like I say, I'm going to look at it from a perspective of how can I add this person in my toolbox to make it the best it can be. But at the same time, I'm going to say, how does it fit in with the rest of the team? Does this person has enough knowledge to command respect with the rest of the team and influence change? Because at that point, I cannot be everywhere. When you have an hotel and you have 8 outlets, 8 restaurants, and you're making $20 million, you have to depend on these people to be left unsupervised, but still running the show like you were here. And in order to do that, you just have to make the right choice about who you hire from your point of view, but from the staff point of view.
Is it difficult for you in your role to see someone doing something, maybe struggling, and you just want to jump in and do it for them? Like how do you keep yourself separate so they can learn, so they can do it for themselves?
I've been one of the lucky one that I've never felt like I needed to jump in order to save the day.
Yeah.
That's someone that's going to have a little bit of that complex that's going to want to come across like I'm coming to save the day. I've seen chefs that, for example, that I was training, like a chef de cuisine. I give him a chance, and usually, especially in American kitchen, you on the other side of the pass, which means you in the restaurant, oftentimes, or you're not necessarily cooking. In France, the chef will be in the kitchen behind the line and on the pass expoing at the same time. But in the United States, I've seen some chefs suddenly they're getting overwhelmed. There's a lot of tickets. It's rush of service. They think and they adopt the move and say, okay, I'm going to jump around the line and I'm going to start cooking. And what does it do when you observe it and you have the experience to know better? You just see that cooks, he moves so fast. The chef, he moves so fast and he's starting to cook the scallops and the lobster. And then he's doing this and this. But in the meantime, the entire expo line is going down. The entire team is not receiving any commands. So half of them are just watching and say, okay, well, what do you need me to do next?
Right.
And suddenly the chef is just looking like this. He's just focusing so much. And because he's moving so fast and trying to help, he has a feeling that he's making an impact. The only impact he does is he's going even deeper and deeper. So usually what I do is and I say, okay, I'm going to let you go down during this service. I'm going to take over the expo, bring back the line on track. And then after you come back and I'm going to teach you that lesson then. And I'm going to say, you see what just happened was not the right call. You need to be able as a chef to get back your team on track without touching a knife and without cooking behind the line. That's going to be the secret of you becoming the chef you want to be. If you're capable of doing this, it means that the team respects you enough to know that your command and the authority that you have is what needs to go by. And it takes a lot of time. Unfortunately, I've seen so many times when you become a chef, for whatever reason, you're expected to already know how to expo.
Right.
And the thing is, nobody really teach you how to expo. I've never been taught how to expo. I've never seen chefs saying like, okay, this is the way you're going to expo. You're not being taught, but when you become a chef, you're suddenly an expediter and you need to know how to do it. So I've saw opportunities throughout my career. Anytime I had a chef and I say, okay, you're going to be trained on expo. I say, well, I know how to expo. And I say, I understand you know how to expo, but this team is responding to a certain way of expediting. Therefore, I'm going to teach you that way. After you can adopt whatever you want the day you are your own chef. But right now, this is the way it works for this team. I don't want to, you have people putting the tickets on the board from left to right. There's some that's going from right to left. There's some that's going to cross with a cross, some that's just going to put it on the spike. Like there's so many different ways because nobody is taught how to do it. And I'm not saying that there is one way to do it, but there is a way the team is responding to, and you want to keep it consistent across of whoever is the chef behind the line.
Right. I love the picture too of the right chef in the right spot with the right tools become a tool member, like a tool for you and your team to operate properly. Put that person in the wrong spot with the wrong tools, they won't be effective. Right.
No, and they could be an amazing chef that has done all the right thing until then. They're just not in the right spot. It's important to know that the chef you're going to bring on board, not only you're going to teach them to become the best version they can be for your team. This is almost like a selfish move. You want to make sure this chef is doing exactly what you want when you wanted by setting expectation and having a clear direction. But you also want to spare time with that person to just say, what is it that you want to work on? Is professional and personal development. What is that you want to work on? What is it that you wish you knew? And then say, you know what, chef, I wish I knew how to work fine dining. And I say, okay, so let's make it a goal for this year. And they say, we have an outlet fine dining. What do you think if one time a week on night service that you go into that restaurant to learn? And I say, oh, can I do that? I say, yeah, why not? In the meantime, when you're spending this time developing that person and giving him that opportunity, the other 4 days they are on shift, they will do whatever you ask, however you want it, and they're going to be so committed because now you've invested time, energy, and confidence into their ability to grow. Therefore, they're just going to give it to you without you even asking. That's just the right attitude. That person that feel like they owe you for something, even though all you give them is an opportunity to work for you. That's the only thing you gave them.
Amazing.
And knowledge.
Chef Franck, where do we go to find out more about the book, the launch of the book? You talked about speaking. There's a bunch of different things potentially for you in the future as well around the book. Where do we go to connect with you after the interview today?
You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Instagram, but I think the best way to find me will be on cheffranck.com. It's my website. You'll find my company Incrementum as well, and every service we have to offer, and you'll find everything about the book. I've also launched about 6 weeks ago a newsletter that has been getting some traction. So you can find me. You can sign up on my website, or you can sign up on LinkedIn to my newsletter called Frankly Speaking. That's all the places you can find me.
Now I have to ask, being a dad with girls.
Yeah.
Have you watched Ratatouille with the girls so they could see this cooking movie? I know there's a rat in the kitchen, which is not a good idea.
Of course.
But have they seen the movie with Dad? Have you watched that with them at all?
Yes, I mean, my 4.5 definitely. My 19 months doesn't yet understand anything, but she does get entertained. But my 4.5, yes, we watched it. We just bought little Ratatouille. There's something called a Tony box when you put your little character on the box and it tells a story. And we just bought it. So yeah, she definitely know who that is. She understands it. She also knows Dad is a chef, and every once in a while she just say, when I get bigger, I'll be a chef like Daddy. So it's those kind of things that make it all worth it.
There you go. And at no point have you ever had a rat underneath your chef's hat directing you as you cook?
At no point. No, I've used my hand and my experience to be able to cook well.
Good, excellent. I really appreciate you taking time to be here with us, Chef Franck, and just hearing about your book. There's so much in here for you as a listener. If you're in a similar role for like Chef Franck, you're leading teams within hospitality, so much there. But even if outside of hospitality, if you're leading a team anywhere, there's a lot of great information in here that you can bring with you to work, develop your team, get that growth mindset developed for your group. I think it's something that you can really benefit from by grabbing a copy of this book. I would encourage everyone listening to, when you buy Chef Franck's book, to leave a great review as well. We love reviews on our meals. We love to send our compliments to the chef when we're in the dining room, but let's also leave our compliments for the chef as far as our reviews wherever you buy the book, so that Chef Franck can see it and other people can read it as well.
Thank you, Dave, for having me. It was an awesome conversation.
Excellent. Great to have you on the show. Everybody, all the links, as always, in the show notes. Again, support amazing authors like Chef Franck. And if you ever get the opportunity to sit in a dining space and enjoy a meal prepared by this amazing gentleman, please make it a priority. Chef Franck, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate you.
Hey, thank you so much again for pressing play. As you've heard, great guests on the show. And one thing you didn't hear in this conversation is what? What did you not hear? Think about it for a second. That's right. Not a single solitary commercial for a mattress or a supplement or a whatever you call it. No. Why? Because we don't want to break up the conversation with commercials. So the fact that you're still here means that you are a fan of the show, I'm assuming. So if you want to help to keep the podcast going and to make me feel really happy, all I really care about is coffee, okay? I just got to be honest. I love coffee. I'm drinking one right now. It's starting to get cold. I need to warm it up. Helping us with our Buy Me a Coffee link over at livingthenextchapter.com and also in the show notes helps kind of keep the lights on around here. Remember, I'm doing this for free. I'm paying for everything. So I would love to have a little coffee donation, even $5 kind of fills up my cup. And I would love to enjoy a coffee from you. So if you're interested, again, thank you for listening. But you can use our Buy Me a Coffee link and fill up the cup. Thanks for being here.